Sometimes it's hard to find the like-minded people you want to connect with on life's journey. People who are not only interested in fertility, but also spiritually minded and curious about spiritual connections to life experiences. I'm Dr. Maria Rothenberger, and I created the Miracles Happen community for just this purpose. Come join us in mind, body, and soul speak for your most fertile life. Best of all, it's completely off social media and 100% free. Find us and sign up at www.miracleshappencommunity.com. Welcome to the Miracles Happen Fertility Podcast, where science and spirit are the focus of creating your most fertile life. You'll find a beautiful balance of grounded science-based topics as well as spiritual talk, and how they are both important for moving toward optimal fertility. Empower yourself along with me. I'm your host, Dr. Maria Rothenberger, a fellow fertility friend, therapist, coach, best-selling author, and spirit baby intuitive. Let's get started. Hey, welcome to the Miracles Happen Fertility Podcast. This is episode 168. Signs, everywhere there's signs. Geez, I have been thinking so much about signs lately. In fact, it was a sign that I needed to talk about signs. If that makes any sense. This podcast episode is all about looking for signs from the universe. And of course, we can get really specific and talk about signs from spirit baby as well, or other loved ones on the other side, or other entities on the other side. But signs in general is what we're going for today. Checking in, of course, first around the happenings and goings on at the Miracles Happen Fertility Center. I will be running Spirit Baby Foundations training, but not until January. So I was about to move things around and be able to handle it in the fall, but I really need to be true to my sensibilities and my wish for living a more simple life, and I just don't want to stack too much on top of each other. So I had to postpone it until January, and I believe that the things that were, sort of standing in the way of Spirit Baby Foundations training happening in the fall were all signs that I needed to stay keeping it simple. And so I am. So Spirit Baby Foundations training will be starting in January 2023. Head over to drmariarothenberger.com/spiritbabytraining and sign up there for updates when I have them. You will be prioritized. You'll be placed on the wait list for the class. It is an 8-week foundational training for mediumship, but we do focus on spirit baby communication because it is a little bit different. If you ever wondered what the difference is, spirit baby realm it's like, I tried to explain this, I think, on the last podcast. It's like walking into a different room or tuning to a different channel on, a radio or the TV. You're not tuned into everything all at once. So like higher realms, lower realms, you're just not. You're tuned into a particular realm or vibration at a time. And so spirit baby realm is its own frequency. So we do focus on spirit baby realm specifically. We are not inviting in any other, like you might see ghost hunter shows or things like that, where they are tuned into a different frequency, even really, really low frequencies where like darker energies lie. We are not even close to that. I know some people feel fearful about opening up to things like that. When we do Spirit Baby Foundations training, it is really high vibration. And so we're just not tuning into that. It's like if you were to say, we're going to learn how to play classical music, but I really don't want to play death metal. Okay, well, you can't, because we're not learning that. We're learning classical music. Or vice versa, if you prefer the lighter tones of death metal. I don't know. To each their own, yes. All right. That is one thing. The other thing I'm just going to leave as a tease for you. This podcast episode is being published around Thanksgiving 2022. And I went on a walk with my dog this morning and had a download, really, of next steps for me in terms of moving forward in the Miracles Happen Fertility Podcast, the Fertility Center, the Miracles Happen community. I just have some exciting stuff coming up for the new year, including Spirit Baby Foundation's training in January, but there are some big changes happening, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Woohoo! Speaking of signs, I have asked the universe for a sign that I'm on the right track. One of the things that I want to talk about, and I'll get into more detail about it, but I already noticed that it feels right in my body. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be talking about. But my next moves feel right to me in my body. It's perfectly reasonable, though, to ask for more signs from the universe. Okay, so those are the two things I wanted to chat about. Spirit Baby Foundation's training starting in January 2023, and some big news. Listen over the next few weeks, and I will be talking all about plans for the upcoming 2023 year. Okay, let's get into signs. Okay, what does that even mean? What do signs mean? So here's my understanding. Everything that we know of really consists of energy, right? So like here I am knocking on my desk. It sounds solid, feels solid, but if we were to take a little sliver of this wooden desk and put it under a really high-powered microscopic machine, we would see mostly space. We would go all the way down to the atoms, to the neutrons, to the electrons, to all that. And then even then we could see smaller, to quarks and things. Most of what we would see is space. And so everything appears solid. We have to live on this planet in an apparently solid space, but everything really comes from energy. It's all just energy. And so when we live on this planet with very solid things and grounded and, practical, we receive signs from an energetic space, but they cannot communicate to us in general with that same energy. They have to transfer their messages to something more solid, or something that appears solid, or something that appears practical and grounded in our world, how we're living right now. Now, of course, I believe, if you haven't heard me say this before, you're hearing it now, I believe that everybody can tune into the energetic world, into the other side. We're just educated out of it. We are told that what is real is what's in front of us, and that's it. There's still a huge debate, despite all of the research. I mean, tons of literature on the reality of the other side, and other sides, right? There are movies about this now, the multiverse, right? So I think that it's obviously still debatable. There's plenty of people who don't buy into that, which is perfectly fine. However, if you're listening to this podcast, you may be one who enjoys hearing about the possibility of other realms, right? Of other energetic spaces. And in order to communicate with folks, with souls, with entities on that energetic frequency, we can either tune into their vibration, or they can communicate with us at our vibration. Now, what does that mean? I'm just going to circle back to what I said. A very solid, practical, grounded, obvious, quote unquote, sign that comes through in our physical world. Okay, so why? Why do signs? Why have signs? Why ask for signs? Well, there's that thing when we're trying to build our family or when we're trying to do anything that is very difficult for us, or if we are just like myself, looking for evidence that we're on the right track in terms of a career or a relationship or whatnot, we can ask for evidence from the universe or evidence from the other side, an entity from the other side, that we are on the right track. And it really helps us feel more focused and more, I hesitate to use the word hopeful. It feels more to me like that manifesting idea of living from the end. That idea is, I am going to act as if I already have the thing, or I'm already in the career, or I already have my baby in my arms. I'm going to act as if that has already happened, which lowers the anxiety, it lowers it improves mood, it reduces the desperation, and really the hopeful, you don't need hope because you already have it. You already have the thing that you want, if that makes any sense. You're not striving for a hope anymore because you already have the thing that you want. So it feels more like, instead of like hope, it feels more to me like putting a puzzle piece together, like putting a puzzle piece exactly in the spot that it needs to go. Like click, okay, this feels good. I'm on the right track. Now, as I said before, one of the ways that you can tell that you're on the track is to sense it in your body. And the other way, there are many other ways, but that's the first way that I tune into. I personally tune into that. But you can also ask for signs. And I really love signs because sometimes even I don't totally trust what my body is telling me. And especially if you're caught up in anxiety and depression and trauma, as it is normal to be so in the fertility world, it's very difficult to trust your body. Even additionally, because a lot of fertility trauma is body trauma, right? So we're paying attention to all the signs of our body. What's that twitch? What's that bubbling up? What's that pain? What's that, heat? What's that coolness? What's going on? What's that tingle? We're so overly tuned in to what's happening with our bodies that it can feel really traumatic. In fact, doing mediumship work, when I did Spirit Baby training, specifically Spirit Baby mentorship with Kelly Meehan, she was telling me to get into my body more, and it freaked me the fuck out, frankly, because I was still like in trauma, and this was only 2.5 years ago now. Many years post bringing our son home through adoption. So it's bound to be a struggle when you're tuning into your body, especially in the beginning. Now I'm okay. But in the beginning of mediumship work, I was like, oh no, I do not want to tune into my body. So I tuned into signs a lot more. But now tune into my body first, and then I ask for more signs. Here's the other reason for signs. Let me just circle back on this thought, because a lot of folks think that asking for signs from the universe or signs from my grandma are, like woo-woo or whatever people might say. It's magical, magical thinking. I actually don't agree, because when you ask for signs, and this is where my science meets spirit, this is where I live, right? Science meets spirit. When you ask for signs, you're being methodical about it. You're not being woo-woo. You're not just picking up everything that somebody puts down, right? You're actually being methodical and investigative about it. When I did a Spirit Baby session recently where it was a couple, and one of them was appropriately skeptical. And I said to him, you are quite intuitive. So I don't know that he totally bought that, but I could feel it in him. I said, you're intuitive. You can see this. You can feel this. And that made him uncomfortable. And I said, what you need to do is sit with your skepticism. It's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. And test, and retest. That's what science is anyway, right? It's testing and retesting a hypothesis over and over thousands of people do it, and that is when you can make a particular conclusion. This is why it's so confusing to me that things like near-death experiences, shared death experiences, things like this aren't considered truth yet. I think perhaps we're not able to study that with the same science techniques that we have right now. But in the future, that is happening. Anyway, so what I encourage this person to do is to ask for a sign and ask for a specific sign, and then ask for it 3 times. And you can even ask for it in a certain time period, like over the next 2 weeks, show me this obvious thing and see what happens. If the thing doesn't manifest for you, if the sign doesn't come, then you can just put that in the bucket of, yeah, I don't think that was a sign, or in the bucket of, I'm not sure. And then leave it at that. You can do this over and over and over and over again. I'm going to give you an example. I posted this in the Miracles Happen community, which is a free community, by the way, that I encourage you to join, miracleshappencommunity.com. And if that link doesn't work for you, which it hasn't weirdly for a lot of people, you can just go to miracleshappencommunity.com/feed, or download the Mighty Networks app and search for Miracles Happen Community. You should find us there. But okay, so I posted this in the community because, let me actually back up because this is funny. I was reading through one of the posts in the Miracles Happen community about books. There's a thread about books. So everybody shares their favorite books, ways that, the book has helped them, etc. And someone posted this book called Signs by Laura Lynn Jackson. Laura Lynn Jackson is a well-known medium. She is a certified medium through the Forever Family Foundation. If you don't know about that organization, fan-freaking-tastic. Anyway, she wrote this book called Signs, The Secret Language of the Universe, right? Okay, so I just get finished reading this list of beautiful books that people posted, and I headed to the library, right? And I wasn't searching for anything. I was just returning some books. And then I was searching for something about crochet because I like crochet. And I'm walking through the aisles and I look over to my left, and wouldn't you know it, the freaking book Signs is just staring at me like on this shelf, top shelf, powder blue book that says Signs on it. And it's the book that the person posted about in the Miracles Happen community. Okay, that to me is a sign that I need to pick up that book. So I did. Now, because I can sense in my body now when something feels right, when something feels like I'm on the right track, I no longer need to ask for 3 signs and be rigorous and scientific about it. But sometimes I do need reassurance, as in this next example. So I was in a headspace of needing some signs from the other side that I'm on the right track. And a long time ago, I went to a mediumship training. This is when I was first inquiring about doing this kind of stuff because I was fascinated by it. It was a few years after I had my first experience with those twins in that session. I don't know if you've heard that story. If not, go back to my coming out story in July of 2020 on this podcast. It was a few years after that, I went to go get some training with a pretty well-known medium. I was at the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. Love that place. And someone there, another medium, turned to me and he said, "Your grandmother's here." And she said, "You're going to do this work." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not. That's ridiculous. I'm a mental health professional. Okay, I'd be kicked out of mental health professionalism." That is ridiculous. That is not happening. So now years later, of course, that is not true. I have now realized that it's important to do this work. And so I am. But sometimes I get in the headspace of, really, am I really doing the right thing? Okay, so that same grandmother, I talked to her and I said, can you please just confirm that, I wanted to start with, can you just confirm that you're here? And she's like talking to me as like any other spirit would. And she's like, why? I'm talking to you right now. And I'm like, yeah, but I want some tangible, like physical stuff in my world to prove that you're here, because I'm questioning myself. And she's like, all right. We're literally having this conversation, like telepathic communication. And I'm laughing at myself thinking, if I'm fucking talking to myself, then I'm just nuts. Okay, so I'm just going to say that. But here's what happened. So my grandma's name is Paula. And for the next few days, I kept seeing references to Paula Abdul. Okay? I'm like, all right, in weird places too. Like, all right, so she, was a musician, or she still is a musician, but back in the 90s when I was like young and trying to be hip, but never quite made it, she was really popular. And so I would hear a Paula Abdul song. I saw her referenced on some kind of like, I can't remember what show it was, doing like judging for music or singing or dance or something. And then I was watching a ghost show, a paranormal show, and freaking Paula Abdul is on it. I'm like, what? That's weird. Okay, so that was the third time that Paula Abdul popped up. And then I went, Grandma, is that you like telling me? Yeah, that's me. Cause who's named Paula anymore? I don't know. But I was like, all right, Grandma, can you send me something else that's not your name? Well, the next day, or maybe it was the same day, I don't remember now, but I got a text from a political something or other, and that person's name was Paul. And I went, haha, very funny, Grandma. It's not technically your name, but it is. Can you try something else? And so here I am waiting for something else. And I was watching TV again, and a commercial pops up that's about Chanel No. 5, which happens to be my grandma's signature perfume. And I went, okay. Now I'm feeling like, okay, this is you. You're here. That same day, I get on the phone. I was talking to, I don't know if you've ever done this, but I was talking to a financial advisor, and we had to connect with another company, and they needed my permission to be able to talk to my financial advisor. And she said, so I just need to ask some identifying information. I said, sure. And she says, what is your maternal grandmother's first name? I like died. I was on the phone cracking up, and I just, of course they had no idea why I was laughing so hard, but I was like, I'm sorry, inside joke. Her name is Paula, and we moved on with the transaction. But at that point, to me, I could not deny that my grandma's here. A few days later, I smelled what I don't know. I don't wear perfume, so I don't have it in the house. My son does have like a cologne or something, and I don't know what Chanel No. 5 smells like, but I smelled it in my bathroom. My son was nowhere near there. He didn't spray any cologne in there. It very well could have been, and this is what a healthy skeptic does. They say, well, it could be this or that, right? Instead of what, the woo-woo side wants to go to. But okay, so it could have been that. I don't know what Chanel No. 5 smells like, so I couldn't be sure. It didn't smell like my son's cologne, but I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I'm just going to add that in the bucket of maybe, but the rest of it to me is like, okay, all right, she's here. So now my next question is, am I on the right track? Am I on the right track? I later had a session myself with a medium who verified a lot of this for me. And I should say, by the way, even if you are experiencing mediumship characteristics or psychic characteristics, so you know that you're owning it, you know that you can do this. There is no shame in getting validation from another psychic or medium. It's great. It's actually really great. Much needed. So I got a lot of great, beautiful things validated from that. And I think that I can move forward knowing that the information that I'm getting is real. Okay, so what are the actual signs that people look for? I just named a couple, right? But what are some other things? I want to actually read a blog post that I wrote forever ago when we were going through our fertility journey. This was in 2008. Oh my gosh, 2008. Our son came home from Korea in 2012. So this was 4 years before we even became parents. But we were already looking, or at least I was, moving into that space of there's something other than just this planet. And he was too, but we just kind of laughed about it. I was more deeply into it, and he was more like surface, like laughing about it. But I wrote this post. It's a very short one, about signs. It's called Signs and Shit. All right. So I said, hubby and I are very much into quote unquote signs. I don't mean traffic signs or store signs. I mean signs that we are on the right track or the wrong track. So during the IVF process, we are big at looking at signs. I think I mentioned the fact that we saw a double rainbow walking the dogs one day. I also mentioned that I had 2 baby pictures print out of the printer last week. Those are a couple of our signs. There's a point to this, I promise. Before I moved to the East Coast, I had never heard of the phrase, quote, I stepped in shit. Translation, I lucked out. So I thought it was a good sign the other day when I literally stepped in shit in my office. The same dog that ate the baby pictures had taken a lovely dump right in the middle of my office, and I stepped right on it. Luckily, he's a dachshund, and I had shoes on. Of course, I wondered if that was a good sign. Yesterday, hubby sent me a lively message that he was about to play the lottery because a bird had just shit on his head. That's never happened to me before, he exclaimed. What are the odds? A couple of hours later, I received another text. That damn bird just shit on me again. It must be a sign. Needless to say, he played the lottery. Why? Well, if the odds of getting shit on twice by a bird are slim, why not push it and go for millions? Ah, yes, we are a logical couple. Okay, so even then you can see that I claim logic. I claim logic from those signs, those shitty signs, literally shitty signs. And I think that it's funny, and yet it's real. It's really real. If I go back now to those signs that I received, the 2 baby pictures, the double rainbows, I also had a dream about having twins. Those things manifested in a way that I could not have imagined. It's impossible for me to have imagined how those things were actual signs for what came to pass. If you don't know my story, here's what came to pass. My first son, who was born in Korea, came home in the most magical way that is outlined in my book, Transcending Infertility. It's too much to go over right now. But my second son, we were thinking about building our family, and my husband really wanted a girl. And I just had this knowing in my heart that it was going to be that I wanted another boy. I just love boys. And I've always wanted 2 boys. So we were going to go through the State Department to see about getting adopting through the state. And yet I was thinking, we're doing all this paperwork, all this training, and I just felt in my heart that we needed to adopt another little Korean boy. But I didn't know how that was going to happen because Korean adoption is ridiculously expensive. I didn't want to have to go through that whole process again. It was really just a big barrier to us adopting a Korean boy. So we set the paperwork aside and we sat on the adoption process for like a year before I got a phone call from the local agency, who also happens to be the agency that we adopted through internationally. So they do both international adoption and they do adoption locally in our state. Side note, we didn't live in this state before. We had just moved here. Crazy. So they do domestic adoption only in our state, our current state. They had a situation where our second son needed to be placed elsewhere, and he was born in Korea. I mean, I don't know how much more magical you can get than this. It's crazy. Okay, the thing is, he has some health issues, and all of those signs that I've already alluded to, one of the double things always had either a dimmer light, or even in my dream when I dreamt of having twins, they were two boys and one had health issues. All of these things were, to me, signs/premonitions of what was to happen. And I can look back, of course, now and say that I did not think about it then. So what I encourage you to do is, no matter what signs come in, keep owning that you're on the right track, that you're headed toward your end goal, whatever feeling state is your end goal, not what it physically looks like, but what your feeling state is. And ask for signs for that. Am I on the right track? Can you show me those double rainbows? Can you show me those seagulls? Can you show me those red balloons? Whatever the sign is, it does not matter. All that matters is that it's meaningful for you. Okay, that is the point that I wanted to get to, talking about this whole blog post and all that stuff, because apparently I'm long-winded today. The sign must be meaningful for you. It could be completely random for somebody else. It does not matter. Like, what does a red balloon mean to you? I don't know. But it might mean something very significant to somebody else. So, ask for something that's meaningful to you. I just realized that my grandpa is sending me coins. He's sending me coins. So I walk on the street, I find a coin. That's my grandpa. So it must be meaningful for you. Other people are like, it's a penny. Cool. See a penny, pick it up, blah, 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 right? For me, grandpa saying hi. So whatever sign you ask for must be meaningful for you. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with your next move. Okay. First, with whom are you attempting to communicate? Do you want to communicate with your baby? Do you want to communicate with a different loved one who's passed on? Do you want to communicate with a guide, with an angel, with the universe in general? Maybe if you're very spiritually inclined, a healing master or somebody, a Akashic Records guide. Who do you want to communicate with? So now you focus your intention and attention on that soul, and you ask, can you give me a sign for ... Okay, now that's step number 1, identify who the soul is. Step number 2, ask for the sign. Now, step number 3, you can be as specific as you want. Now, just keep in mind, really, really specific things can take a little bit of time. They can be immediate too, but please don't be discouraged if you ask for something super specific and it doesn't show up within 30 seconds, okay? So you can be as specific as you want, or you can be as general as you want. Just show me something that is really obvious and meaningful to me. Like I've told this story before, I heard once of someone whose son had passed away as a teenager. And she said to her husband, they were out getting a Christmas tree, and it was like his favorite holiday or something. And they were talking about him. And she said, I just want to know that he wasn't in pain when he died. And as they were leaving the tree farm, a taxi cab drove by with a sign, a literal sign on top of the cab that said no pain. And that was incredibly meaningful for her because there weren't any taxi cabs really in that area. It was like a far sort of rural area. And then that it would be a literal sign that said no pain. Like, why? Why? For her, very meaningful, brought her comfort. That is the sort of the level that we're looking to get to when you're looking for comfort or guidance or confirmation or validation. So you can ask specifically. Now, she didn't ask specifically for this. She didn't ask her son on the other side for this specifically, but he just gave it to her. You can ask specifically for these things and have a communication with the other side. So, identify the soul, ask for a sign. 3, be specific if you would like. Don't have to. 4, ask for this sign again. I personally like to have a sign at least 3 times before I consider it a sign. Like, okay, I am now picking up what you're putting down. I'm going to put this in the bucket of, yeah, I think maybe this is a sign. Okay, so ask for it repeatedly. And then always, always, always write it down. Because if you're anything like me, you will question the same shit over and over and over again. And then you'll be like, oh, I'm looking back at my notebook. I've already gotten like 50,000 signs of, confirming this question. Okay, maybe I should trust it now. And it helps you lean into the process a little bit more and let go of the specifics in your current life. You just are able to live more presently instead of constantly focusing on the stressors of having the thing that you are seeking. Okay, so I encourage you to pick up the book by Laura Lynn Jackson called Signs. It's really great. She talks about all kinds of stories where folks have asked for signs that just don't make any sense. They just really, in like a scientific perspective, there is no reason why these things would show up. They're absolutely incredible. It's so good. Really easy read. Pick it up. Highly encourage you to do so if you're into this kind of thing. And then go forward and ask for your signs. But before you even do that, if you would, take a moment, please, to leave a rating for this podcast. If you like this content, it'll really help spread it out so lots of folks can get the same wonderful content. I am completely grateful for you. If you are in the States, by the way, happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate. And until next time, my friend, may you receive all of the signs you are looking for, and may you be well. Take care.